Hello everyone, I'm very glad that you listened to my story. Please give me a follow and like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment and provide feedback so I can improve the sound quality. Yes, I will now continue the unfinished story. Chapter 37, Not Yet. Liam comfortably settled inside the small but adequate space and took out all the herbs from his inventory. He now had enough gold and had also crossed level 10, so while he was taking care of the miscellaneous things, he also upgraded his inventory to hold 5,000 items, which was the maximum limit for the system inventory. To store more items or rarer higher grade items, other storage artifacts need to be specially crafted or looted and bound. So he pinned that task for another time. Let me see. Basic healing potion, basic mana potion, basic stamina potion, basic strength potion, basic agility potion. It should be enough to start with these 5 for now. Liam stacked all the herbs neatly based on which herb was required for each potion recipe. Since these were all basic potions, simple enough to be concocted by a beginner alchemist, only herbs were involved in the recipes. Unlike his cleansing potion, they didn't require beast blood or bones or any other items. Liam then took out the cauldron from his inventory and started the heating by activating the rune on the side. He pressed his thumb and removed it, once again just using the automatic regulation. This was more than sufficient for the basic potions and only had the flaw of producing potions with 60 to 70% efficacy. This number could obviously be improved if he regulated the entire concoction process himself with complete focus and thorough control of mana. However, he didn't have any shortage of herbs or gold for now, so he placed more importance on speed rather than concoction efficiency. After the cauldron started heating up, Liam added a pail of clean water into it, and in a single batch, he tossed in the entire first stack of herbs. He had already arranged the stocks in an appropriate ratio, so he didn't have to do much else. He just squatted near the cauldron and swirled the liquid inside using a huge ladle at regular intervals. Before long, a series of notifications rang loudly. Ding, basic health potion created. Ding, basic health potion recipe obtained. Ding, your alchemy skill proficiency has increased to trainee level. Alright. Time to move on to the next one. Liam cracked his neck and stood up, to quickly empty the cauldron. He scooped out the huge amount of basic health potion within the cauldron into several smaller sized glass bottles and stored them in his inventory. He then activated another rune on the cauldron, which incinerated all the leftover dregs, and everything was cleaned out for another fresh concoction batch. Liam once again heated another pail of clean water, and this time as well he threw in a huge stack of pre-arranged herbs, without bothering to adjust anything. As he watched the things boiling silently, he couldn't help but lazily smile and lean against the wall. The things that seemed so easy and effortless now had once been a nightmare to him. As a slave and a weakling, he himself was never allowed to practice alchemy. However, he was forced to stand near the cauldron and act as a punching bag every time his owner couldn't successfully concoct a potion. He had been whipped, he had been starved, he had even been held under disgusting piping hot liquid, just as a means for someone else to vent their anger. The memories of the past flitted past his mind, and his smile was no longer lazy or amused. It was rather deeply disturbing. It was like the grin of a grim reaper as he was about to take a soul. Not yet, Liam muttered and closed his eyes to calm himself down. Ding, basic mana potion created. Ding, basic mana potion recipe obtained. Smells perfect. Next batch then. Liam ended up using the next 3 hours of his 4-hour time slot and concocted huge portions of all the 5 basic potions. In the end, he even managed to bring his alchemy skill level to intermediate. Pushing it any higher using just basic potions was near impossible and just a waste of time and resources, so he stopped. I still have the recipes looted from the dragon's nest. Let me take a look. Ding, chrysanthemum lethal poison recipe obtained. Ding, 9-color paralyzing poison recipe obtained. Ding, low-grade stealth potion recipe obtained. Ding, low-grade water breathing potion obtained. 4 special and unique alchemy potions. Oh, this is a great haul. Too bad I don't have the ingredients for these yet. Otherwise, I could have leveled the alchemy skill up all the way to master level today. Well, whatever. No need to rush things. He had finished everything that he could do here, so he packed up the miscellaneous items and left the crafting room. Chapter 38, Dinner and Dessert. Hat. This guy is still here. Liam smirked when he walked out of the trade building. Of course, he had noticed Bharat following him around, but he didn't see any need to act on it. Well, let me see if he still waits around. His grin widened and the next second his figure disappeared. What the heck? Where did he go? Bharat looked around here and there. His speed and agility are already so high that I cannot even track him anymore. No, wait. Did he learn some sort of stealth skill? Bharat was disappointed that he had lost his mark. Now how should I find him again? He racked his brain for a while before realizing something important. He then facepalmed himself for overlooking the obvious. Fuck. He must have just logged out. Why am I getting so flustered? He shook his head as if he was physically trying to make his brain stop overthinking. He let out a long sigh and sat down near a tree at the entrance of the trade building. I already wasted 3 hours. So what if I waste a few more? Fuck it. He had tried talking to the few alchemists in the town 100 different ways, but he was not able to find even a small clue about a possible loophole. At this point, he was so invested that he was obsessed with finding the loophole. It was either this or he was ready to quit the game altogether. At least for the rest of the day. Liam felt a jolt surge through his body and his consciousness returned to the real world. He then opened the game capsule casually and stepped out of it. Bro. Wah. You are finally back. Mylan immediately stood up and ran over to him, looking at the familiar yet unfamiliar figure. Curiously. Yes. Did you get hungry? Sorry, I am a bit late. No, I am all right. The girl flashed a big smile like always, batting her long lashes. Though her small face and phoenix-like eyes looked a bit tired and droopy. Liam couldn't help but smile. The girl was far too mature for her age. She had never once demanded anything from him, even though they went to sleep hungry a lot of the time. He patted her and then quickly ordered some food for them from a nearby restaurant. He wanted to take her out to someplace nice, but tomorrow was going to be busy, so he decided to finish the day with a quick meal. The food soon arrived and Liam served the bunch of dishes on plates and bowls for the both of them. It was only the brother and sister pair in the house, so it was pretty quiet as the duo wolfed down the food. Brother, is this really okay? We are spending a lot. May. Do you want to move to a bigger apartment tomorrow? Liam smiled and shoved another piece of tenderly cooked pork. Bigger apartment? Brother, did we win a lottery? The girl giggled cutely. He. I guess we can call it that. Liam chucked. He added some more food to her bowl and also to his own. He was ravenous after expending so much energy. And also, there was the other thing. Brother, something looks different about you. Mylan couldn't put a finger on it, but her scrawny brother looked somewhat different today. Though he was still a skeleton, he seemed as if he was stronger for some reason. The pimples on his face had also disappeared and he had muscles. Stop staring at me and eat your food. We are eating better, so it's natural to look and feel better. Don't think too much about it. And no school tomorrow, all right? I am earning now playing this game. So we can afford to move to a better place. I don't want us to stay here any longer. You should eat well and take a proper rest tonight so you help brother when we move tomorrow. Wah! Brother, is this really true? We can earn money by just playing games. Liam smiled and ruffled her head, which made the young girl pout. Of course. Why will I lie to you? We will have a better life from now on. You can have your own room. New dresses. Whatever you want. You will see tomorrow. He nodded. The girl was completely speechless. Brother, then I should also start playing? I can help you. All in due time. Let brother get stronger first. Then I will take you to the new world. But. No buts. You should rest first. After you wake up, wait for me and don't head out to school. Remember, all right? Okay, brother. I will listen to you. Don't work too hard. Haha. I won't. Liam threw the dishes into the small sink and didn't bother to wash them. He then made sure that the door was latched properly, drank a jug full of water, and popped back into the capsule again. After he left, Chiang Mai-Lin looked at the capsule from a dozen different angles, but she was too afraid to mess up something and didn't come anywhere near it. She sat back in her corner, silently pulled out her textbook, and started reading. Chapter 39, Ambushed Part 1. After logging in, Liam walked out of the town and headed straight for the surrounding forests. There was only one more thing left for him to do in Basila town, and that was to finish the instructor's quest. This was also his first priority, as he wanted to strengthen his body as much as he could before he moved on to the next step. In his previous life, after this specific piece of information, or rather this rule, was discovered, countless people could only lament in regret, as it was too late for them to start from scratch. Even the person who finished this quest couldn't fully reap its benefits. He got only 50% of the results, and just that much helped the guy shoot all the way to the top, and he became one of the major powerhouses. Liam, however, would be getting 100% of the reward if everything went according to this plan. Just the mere thought of it made him lick his lips in anticipation. He took a look at the quest one more time and sped through the forest. Unique quest: kill the bear king Barabara and bring its head to the training ground instructor. Kata kata kata. His feet nimbly moved through the lush tall trees and the thick brambles. Bear King Barabara resided in the forest zone near the biggest city in the Gresh kingdom, Ilka city. This is the city where soon everyone would be spending the majority of their time in. Only second to the royal city where the royal palace was located, Ilka was the biggest junction of trade and commerce, and several advanced magic institutes and trade skill institutes were located there. Major guilds would be fighting with each other tooth and nail just to get a foothold in the city, and the one who managed to get would inevitably be head and shoulders above the rest. And more importantly, players would finally come in contact with and interact with other races of the world like elves, orcs, goblins, and beastkin. In the beginning, everyone would be overjoyed to be able to talk to and bed elven beauties and furry beast women, especially because of the unbelievable immersive nature of the game. However, the viciousness of some of the creatures would only come to light when the game was no longer just a game. Thinking about the bleak future, Liam let out a long sigh and continued running through the empty forests. In reality, his current level was far too low to be running around freely like this. These forests were chock full of bandits and dangerous beasts, but there was no way he could afford to wait. For now, it was probably just him in these forests, of course, also the pest who was still sticking to him, and maybe a few more players. However, Barabara was the field boss of Ilka city, and it was inevitable that these deserted places wouldn't remain so peaceful for too long. All the paths to and from the city would soon be brimming with players. The bandits and the beasts who might be threatening now would simply end up being easy experience points. Also, since it was located near such a highly populated area, it would become near impossible for any one person to monopolize the field. Boss. And for this particular quest, Liam definitely needed the Bear King all to himself. So he didn't dare spend even another minute doing something else and quickly hurried over to the dazzling city's outskirts. Several feet behind him, another figure as well dashed forward, but this person's plight was completely different from Liam, and he was sweating from top to bottom. His stamina was almost fully drained, that his body was shaking and shivering. Damn it! Huff. Huff. Damn it! How the hell is this guy running so fast? Shouldn't he be tired by now? Bharat buckled over and fell down. From tiredness while trying to keep up with the monster in front of him as best as he could. He had already sunk several hours into this stupid idea of his, so he didn't hesitate and munched on a fruit, quickly scrambling back to his feet. Please wait for me, he muttered under his breath and continued running with a limp. Why is this fucking game so damn realistic? Just as he gasped for breath and jogged ahead with everything he could muster, he noticed something weird. The monster in front of him finally stopped moving. Lucky. Bharat's eyes curiously darted here and there to see where they were and what the person could possibly be up to now. However, he was instantly shocked. As his vision cleared and the blurriness reduced, he saw several men standing around. What the heck? Who are these people? Some kind of thieves or bandits? He took a step back, not wanting to unnecessarily lose his life. There were about 20 to 30 men dressed in black clothes. Even if he helped that person, how could just the two of them survive against so many people? So it was obviously better to run away and meet the person back at the town's graveyard. This would be the most logical thing to do, and yet Bharat found himself waiting for a miracle. He didn't turn around and run and curiously observed the person in the midst of the bandits, who was standing straight and unyielding like a mountain. And then something even more unexpected happened. Hand over everything in your possession. You should have never messed with our guild. Now it's time for you to face the consequences. Bastard. Huh? Wait a second, are these players and not bandit NPCs? Bharat was completely dumbfounded. The game just started, so how on earth did this person manage to offend these many people? Chapter 40, Ambushed Part 2. As opposed to the bewildered expression on Bharat's face, Liam only wore a calm expression on his face. This coupled with his good looks, he looked like a kind and angelic person. Oh. It's been a while. You guys sure recovered fast. He casually smiled. Jinwei gnashed his teeth in anger and annoyance. They had already lost too much because of this guy, and now he was even purposely mocking them about it. Bitch, you got away last time because of that dragon, but now you have nowhere to run. You are fucking surrounded. I am going to kill you and then again kill you and then again kill you. You are done with this game. Don't even think about logging back in again. Liam's sharp eyes flickered, ignoring the dog that was barking in front of him. Instead, he observed the group of players standing around. Clearly, they all belonged to the same group and probably would join the same guild when the guild tokens start showing up. And having enmity with a few people was different from being hunted by an entire guild. They will most likely have even more members in the future, and it was inevitable that small insects and pests would keep bugging him from time to time. Liam scratched his clean-shaven chin. This is indeed very troublesome. The first time he ignored them and didn't punish them, and like clockwork, they came back for him again. He wasn't even surprised by this. Some people needed special attention and they would only keep coming back until they got what they needed. It looked like this time he couldn't just leave things be, or rather they didn't give him a choice. Others might have been intimidated and crumbled under this sort of pressure, but they had chosen the wrong person this time around. A snake with its tail injured needed to be fully killed, and he knew exactly how to slay this particular snake. Liam cocked his head to the side and looked at the player standing on his right. Unlike the guy who was arrogantly running his mouth, this person was rather quiet and observant. Just from a single glance, Liam knew that this person was the leader. So he directly addressed him. "Are you sure you want to fight me? You and I are not enemies. We can part ways right here and everything is forgotten." Huh. Liam's words surprised the leader, and the calm expression on the man's face visibly faltered. He had no idea how the person was able to pinpoint and figure out his identity. It looked like he was not as simple as he looked. His words also made him somewhat nervous. The game had after all just started. It was probably better for them to keep grinding and establishing a base first instead of picking on random players for no reason. Moreover, in this case, he knew very well that everything which happened was Jinwei's fault. He had started this whole thing. So perhaps. He began to hesitate slightly. However, before he could respond to anything, Jinwei's sharp voice rang loudly. "Zeman. Don't even think about it." The group leader's eyes shifted from Liam to Jinwei, and he remained silent for a moment. Just from the look on the impatient guy's face, he knew that he had no choice. Jinwei had already threatened to leave so many times in the past. He had a decent following in the group, and this time he looked far more serious than before. If he didn't comply with his request, he could tell that he would really leave. The group leader Zeman sighed and shook his head helplessly. Though his instincts told him that he was making a wrong decision, he couldn't help it. They were just fighting against a single guy after all. So it was also not too risky. In the worst case, the guy would probably suffer under them for a couple of days, and then there would be a new target. So in the end, he didn't think too much about it and waved his hand. "What are we wasting time for? Let's get this over with." Even as he said these words, an alarm was constantly ringing at the back of his head. But it was already too late. Zeman clutched the staff in his hand and started casting a spell. He was a fire mage. The other players standing around also followed his lead and started shouting aggressively and sending in all sorts of attacks. Jinwei was leading the whole fight as he dashed forward even before Zeman could finish his sentence. In a matter of seconds, the calm forest without any warning suddenly turned into a raging battleground. Different attacks were flying around and all sorts of weapons flashed brilliantly under the sunlight flickering in through the canopy of dense leaves and branches. Bharat chewed his nails nervously. "That's it? This guy is dead." He silently lit a candle for Liam and prepared to watch the inevitable massacre. Chapter 41, Kill Me Please. Can I Commit Suicide? Part 1. Liam smirked. A dozen close combat players were rushing towards him from all directions holding all different types of weapons. Well, there is no going back now. He took a deep breath and sidestepped, nimbly bending his body at an angle that dodged 5 attacks at the same time. A couple of fireballs hit his body, but they only grazed his skin as he moved again and avoided the brunt of the attack. What? Where is he? Liam's figure was a complete blur and no one could even see him move, let alone figure out his movement patterns. To make matters worse, because of the realistic nature of the game, the various attacks did not differentiate between friend and foe. The ice shards and fireballs which did not land on Liam landed on the other group members standing nearby and hit them instead. Bang! 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 3 men suffered instant lethal hits and fell back, their bodies dead and lifeless. A bright glow enveloped them before they completely turned into dust and dispersed into the wind. What the fuck? Damn it! Aim properly, idiots! Idiots! Jinwei screamed in fury. Nothing was going his way and this damned game also wasn't making things easy. Het. You should have really taken some time to understand the game first. Liam chuckled, only his voice ringing loudly in the sudden silence. It hadn't been that long since the game started, so they hadn't yet figured out this crucial detail and the sudden development took everyone by surprise. Moreover, the group wasn't coordinated enough to recover from this instantly and their movements visibly slowed down. Don't get too cocky, motherfucker. This fight is not over. You are celebrating too soon. You are not getting out of here alive today. Only 3 of us died. There are still more than enough of us to deal with a loser like you. Tui. Jinwei spat out. He had only barely finished talking when a figure appeared in front of him. Celebrating. On the contrary, I am not happy at all. I would have actually preferred that those 3 didn't die so easily. Liam. Huh. What the hell is he blabbering about? Wondering about the meaning behind his words, Jinwei snarled and jabbed at the hateful person. This time, surprisingly, Liam did not move back and evade his attack. Instead, his body spun and his fist thrust forward. Bam! Jinwei froze, his entire body trembling. He couldn't move even if he wanted to. All of a sudden, he felt as if the strength in his body had completely disappeared. He looked down with a dumbfounded expression on his face as a pang of torturous pain spread from his lower abdomen. Liam's hand was still holding him steadfastly. His hand held his intestines, twisting his insides within the grasp of his palm. Ah! 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 He screamed with unbearable pain. At this moment, he had no idea what was even going on. There was only one single thought in his head, and that was, why the fuck am I not dead yet? His eyes almost popped out of his eye sockets as he continued screaming in pain. He desperately looked at his health bar, but it was dropping rather slowly. Ah! Jinwei cursed his bad luck. He even began wishing that his own teammates would kill him off with random attacks, but the damn jerks were targeting only the villain in front of him. Just how much health does he have? Just as the thought entered his mind, Liam's other hand moved and a shiny small glass bottle appeared in his hand. Glug glug glug. To Jinwei's dismay, the person even casually lifted this glass bottle and gulped it all down, the empty bottle promptly tossed back into the... That was a health potion? Wait, did he just save an empty glass bottle in the midst of a life and death battle? He didn't know which to be more shocked about. He didn't even know if he had gone completely crazy from the pain that he was thinking about such useless things. In reality, though the moment felt like an eternity to Jinwei, everything happened in a fraction of a second. This, coupled with the effects of the health potion, Liam was easily able to maintain his condition, and taking a couple of attacks wasn't an issue for him. As he calmly stood, Jinwei's face further paled, and the next second, he heard a distinct crunch sound coming from his body, and the pain he was suffering through increased 100-fold. Arg! Ah! AHH! He screamed again, and everyone else surrounding them, including Bharat, subconsciously shuddered. Though they were not sure what was going on, they could all see that something was wrong here. Zeman immediately decided to intervene and aimed his next attack at Jinwei instead. His reddened eyes noticed this, and a faint ray of hope flickered in the midst of this misery. This was finally going to be over soon. I need to first find the damn pain settings for this game. Jinwei closed his eyes, gritting his teeth in pain, but before the fireball could hit him, another notification popped up in front of him. Ding! Your mana meridians have been permanently damaged. Ding! Your mana is now 0. What? Jinwei's gaze, filled with utter dread and fear, shifted to look at Liam one last time before he as well dropped dead onto the... Chapter 42, Kill Me Please. Can I commit suicide? Part 2. What just happened? Why was Leader Wei shouting so much? No one was able to grasp the meaning behind what they saw. All they could understand was the fact that Liam had replenished his health with the potion. Even the leader of the group Zeman was in the same boat. Regroup. Regroup. Attack with coordination. Don't blindly rush. Pay attention to where you are sticking your weapon. Jin Wei's death was like a wake-up call, and the battle once again started with Zeman giving more active instructions. He can't last long on just one health potion. Pay attention and bring down his health. Cast fewer spells and focus on accuracy, Zeman shouted loudly. In his hand, a huge ball of fire materialized and he aimed it at the enemy. But Liam wasn't planning to stand around like a target dummy for others to practice their skills on him. His figure once again blurred, and this time he appeared in front of another person. And just like before, his fists flew out, one of them clutching the guy's throat and the other reaching for his lower abdomen, where he twisted the flesh and the man's insides. Gah! Ah! Ah! Gumu started shouting loudly in agony. His eyes bulged out in pain and his teeth bit down on his tongue, unable to withstand the pain. Meanwhile, a volley of attacks landed on Liam's body. Bang! 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 With both his fists still firmly in place, he leaned at various angles, dodging the attacks whilst his feet were rooted at the same spot. The movements he made were very minuscule, and yet he efficiently dodged most of the attacks, that too with the target in his hands tightly held in place. Gumu shrieked. Ah! What is happening? Someone kill him, please. Someone kill me, please. He was being waved around in the air like a washcloth rag, and the intense pain coming out of his abdomen hadn't reduced in the slightest. He struggled and twitched, his entire body thrashing around violently, but Liam's grip was unyielding. And before long, a loud crisp sound echoed. Gumu stared at the notification which popped up in front of him, but he was in too much pain to make sense of anything. All he could do was scream and just scream. And the very next second, something hit his body and he finally fell down limp with his health drained out. His body as well became dust and was blown away by the wind. Everyone gawked at the scene with their mouths wide open, but Liam calmly took out another health potion and chugged it down, meticulously saving the empty bottle in the same manner. What the? Jin Wei and Gumu are dead just like that. Just what the hell was going on? As they continued staring at this madness dumbfoundedly, Liam's figure once again blurred. He now appeared in front of Zeman, the leader. Too bad you didn't listen to my warning. Heh. His words were like someone twisting the knife in a stab wound. Zeman shuddered. He gulped, thinking about how the other two had screamed in pain. He couldn't help but fear that the same fate awaited him as well. As he saw Liam's thin red lips curl up into a vicious grin, and his hands reaching out, a loud alarm rang in the back of his mind, and he knew that something was about to happen. The next second, everything happened too fast, and without being fully aware of what he was doing, he had already jammed his own throat with the sharp edge of the staff in his hands. Thud. His body dropped dead on the ground, becoming dust, leaving Liam's hand hanging mid-air. Huh? Not bad. This one has some brains. Liam chuckled. Shrugging his shoulders casually, he then moved on to the next target, a random person on his right. The players of the group, who were already out of their wits, watched the scene in a haze. This was the last and final blow to their morale. Even their own group leader committed suicide. What were they supposed to do? Earlier today everyone had assembled in high spirits, as it was always very entertaining to gang up on a single dog and thrash him mercilessly, but the dog turned out to be a demon and was now claiming their lives one by one. But the worst part was the sight of their strongest member, their group leader, directly committing suicide before the fight even began. This made everyone frantic. Whatever composure they had left was long gone, and once again they started attacking the demon in front of them in a frenzy. Because of this, the close combat players started dropping down like flies one by one. In the midst of this chaos, Liam as well wreaked his own havoc by not stopping what he intended to do. He moved on to one target after another, crippling as many players as he could. He managed to cripple 2 more guys before the private group chat of the players blew up with notifications. Commit suicide. Run. Kill each other. Do whatever is necessary, get out of there. Gumu and Jinwei were still psychologically affected after experiencing the torturous pain, but Zeman had luckily escaped from that plight. So he was conscious enough to talk to the other 2, and what he feared came true. The bastard was using some sort of special technique to give them a weird status. Their mana dropped down to 0 and their meridians had been damaged. What this actually meant was still unclear to him, but the words permanent damage filled him with fear and dread. If this status was indeed permanent, then their guild would essentially become crippled before even it was formed. That too, the bastard also targeted the key members one after the other. Nothing the person did was casual, even though he appeared to be extremely nonchalant about the whole fight. At this rate, their group would be completely decimated. Chapter 43, Bear King Part 1. Bharat blinked, staring at the unbelievable scene in front of him. What the hell? He had indeed expected a massacre, but this seemed to be happening in the wrong order. Instead of many players hunting and chasing one person, the single person was hunting and torturing the big group. That too, the other party had completely given up and everyone scattered like marbles. Bharat gulped nervously. Just hearing the screams of the men as a bystander was just too realistic for him. As he continued watching the chaos unfolding in awe, suddenly a couple of men ran in his direction towards him. Bharat's gaze shifted and he spontaneously made a decision. Earthbind. Immediately the ground where the 2 men placed their feet liquefied and their legs got caught in the marshy muddy mess. Before they could get out of this, the soggy mud quickly solidified back again, binding them both in place. Fuck. Who the hell are you, bitch? Ah. Fuck. 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 Stop the spell, man. What did we do to you? Why are you even here? Bharat, however, ignored their pleas and waved his hand at Liam. Boss, I have 2 here. At this point, he knew that there was no way his presence hadn't already been noticed by Liam. So without hesitation, he simply called him over. Hey. No. 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 He is going to cripple us. Bastard. Who are you? The 2 men screamed at the top of their lungs. Liam hadn't expected this, so he was amused. Oh. Not bad. His voice sounded in the distance and the next moment he was standing near Bharat. Both his fists shot forward simultaneously as he twisted the insides of both the men, and within seconds, they as well ended up dead with a special status added to them. Watching this up close was definitely scarier than watching it from a distance. Bharat couldn't help but take a step back. What was this guy doing to them? He had heard the word cripple in the midst of their screams. So he wondered what was happening. However, he didn't have the guts to ask Liam openly, as it would only take him another second to do to him what he had done to the other men. I think the others ran away. He awkwardly mumbled instead. Liam hummed, dusting his hands, and taking a look around. Everyone had indeed run away, but he managed to catch and wrangle at least a dozen, which was more than enough to teach them the lesson that he wanted to. Well, that's that then. At least for a while, they shouldn't be bothering me. He casually picked up all the pieces of equipment that were dropped here and there and then started walking away without sparing another glance at anything or anyone. Ah! Bharat saw that and quickly ran to catch up to him. Boss, do you need any help? I am a bit free right now. Ahem. And I am already here so. Liam chuckled and continued walking. You are free? All right then. Follow me. His words were so shocking that Bharat almost couldn't believe them. He agreed so easily. At first, he was pleasantly surprised, but then he began to feel nervous. Was this guy planning something particularly devious for me? He remembered those miserable screams and shuddered subconsciously. The two of them walked in silence for a while, covering a lot of distance. The more time passed, the more nervous Bharat became. Now he simply wished that he had rather rejected him outright. By the way, what class do you play? Liam's voice broke his thoughts and he quickly blurted out. Mage, boss. Not bad. Liam nodded and then he suddenly paused in the middle of the forest. All right. Keep spamming your skills and try not to get in the way. Huh? What? Bharat looked around in confusion. Being constantly worried about the person next to him, he hadn't exactly paid much attention to the surroundings. He craned his neck from right to left in alarm to see where they were and what they were going to fight. Was this guy testing me? But he didn't have to wonder about this for long, as the very next instant, a loud roar sounded from behind them. Thud. A gigantic beast jumped out and galloped towards them from within a dense cluster of trees. It was a huge grizzly black bear with blood-red eyes. Fuck. It's here. Bharat shouted. The bear was gigantic and its shadow fell like a dark blanket around them. More surprisingly, the animal had a gold-and-silver glow around it, indicating that it was at least an elite monster. Bharat hadn't even crossed level 10, so when he tried to observe the health and status of this beast, it only came up as question marks. All players were only able to observe the strength and details of a beast in their level class, and judging from everything, this bear's level class was at least one above his. The beast's presence was so overwhelming that Bharat could feel a significant mental pressure weighing him down. He was not able to react easily at all. However, unlike him, the person next to him had already moved. There was even a hint of a smile on Liam's face. He was looking at the big black bear lovingly. Ah! Bharat became dumbfounded. Just what level is he at? The two of them were not in a single party, so he couldn't get any detail at all. He had been waiting for the guy to add him to his party, but clearly, no such thing was going to happen. Bharat wanted to cry quietly. He still suspected that Liam had strong connections which gave him extra information about the game, but his skills and techniques were even more terrifying. And somehow, he had ended up working as an unpaid intern for this monstrous guy. Chapter 44, Bear King Part 2. Hello, big boy. Liam grinned, eyeing the grizzly howling in rage. Bear King Barabara, elite boss. Level 15. Health, 50,000. The bear's health was almost 25 times more than his own, and Liam knew that its attacks would be of a similar scale as well. After all, this was a field boss which was not meant to be soloed by a single player. However, he was not scared or intimidated in the least, standing face to face with this gigantic mountain of a beast. In fact, he felt as if he was seeing a long-time childhood friend. It was a nostalgic, bittersweet memory. Back then, he never got the chance to fight against this bear, but now it was all his to play around with as much as he wanted. Liam's figure blurred and a long sword appeared in his hand, shimmering with its cold metallic sheen. He did not waste any further time and dashed towards the rampaging bear, meeting it halfway. Slash! 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 He nimbly moved, circling around the bear, and the sword in his hand danced. The weapon trembled with each strike as it only barely managed to scratch the beast. -10. -15. Liam chuckled wryly, looking at the pathetic damage numbers, but how could he complain? This was a field boss. Its defense was just that high that it prevented him from displaying the full potential of his basic damage, which was at least 400 to 500 if he went all out. Instead, all that registered was only a sorry 10 to 15 damage. The sword he held also wasn't strong enough and it shivered as it struck the thick hide of the Bear King, chopping off only small portions of its health. This was something Liam had already expected, so he was not too shocked by this outcome. Moreover, he came fully prepared. As his elegant figure flashed around the monster, taking advantage of his agility which the strong and powerful bear lacked, Bharat finally snapped out of his trance and moved. It took him a few seconds but the raging growls of the bear woke him up. He quickly moved back. He was a mage and there was no reason for him to stand so close to the black bear. After that, he hesitated for a couple more seconds, waiting to see if Liam was going to give him any specific instructions, but both the man and the beast had entirely ignored him. Ah, so, this is what he meant by "don't get in my way." Bharat wiped the sweat off his forehead. "I will just do whatever I can." He wasn't disheartened and decided to take this positively as an opportunity. Not that he was planning to kill Steel or anything. At this point, he was merely curious to see how this single person was going to solo this boss. Though he couldn't see the damage numbers floating atop the beast like Liam did, he could still see what damage his own attacks did. So he could somewhat comprehend the effectiveness of Liam's sword attacks. Moreover, the other party hadn't even drawn the beast's blood yet. So he was very eager to watch the show and see what was going to happen. What special and secret technique was he going to use? He peeled his eyes and patiently waited and watched. A couple of seconds passed and then an entire minute passed. However, nothing happened at all. Liam was only calmly slashing and chopping down the huge bear from various angles, removing small chunks of its health each time. He was not really doing anything else. This in itself was very impressive, and he continued to evade all of the beast's attacks with extreme precision. Even a single attack would probably put him out of commission. So the pressure was that much more to accurately move every single time. The beast as well was extremely enraged because of this. It was literally being toyed around by an ant. Its reddened eyes glared at the pest angrily and the beast and the man continued to tango. Bharat as well did his part and continued sending out fireballs and arcane bolts. These were the two skills he managed to acquire. While fireball was a normal elemental magical attract, the arcane bolt was a comparatively rare skill. It involved shooting out concentrated bullets of mana and it was far more powerful than normal fireballs. Before he met this monster dancing with a sword in front of him, he had actually thought that this was impressive and he had gotten a lucky start. But now his whole perception was completely broken and he saw things in a new light. He knew that he needed to work much harder if he wanted to be anywhere near the top. Bharat narrowed his eyes and tried his best to coordinate with Liam, targeting the spots on the bear that were already injured. He paid more attention to the battle and did his absolute best. At least this way, he thought that he could amicably part ways with this person and perhaps add him as a friend. He carefully regulated his mana and moved closer and barraged the bear with his attacks. He really wanted to impress Liam. As the fight progressed, he grew more comfortable with it and was able to pay more attention. This helped him increase his rhythm as well and his attack damage improved a lot. However, the next instant, just as he was about to target another flesh injury, Bharat couldn't help but notice something weird. There were charred marks on the flesh injury. His eyes widened and he stopped attacking, now paying more attention to the man rather than the beast. Almost immediately, Bharat became even more shocked. He could instantly tell that something was different. Other players might not necessarily recognize this just yet, but he was a mage so he could see this. All this time he had thought that Liam was simply grinding down the bear, but now only he realized that he was gravely mistaken. This guy was once again up to something else. Chapter 45, Sometimes there is no shortcut. Damn it! This is taking longer than I thought. Liam moved, slashing down at the bear one more time. His other hand swiftly took out a piece of fruit and popped it into his mouth to recover his stamina. Though his health was not taking a hit, his stamina was dripping like water from a rusty bucket. So he quickly chewed on the fruit while the rest of his body continued moving with ease. However, he still didn't show any signs of stopping or speeding up his attacks. He took his time and only used a certain type of attack, which was a straightforward sword slash, at least that's what it looked like to others. He had other stronger attacks in his arsenal, but weirdly he continued to use only this single attack, despite the amount of time it took. It almost looked like he was stalling for something or simply passing his time wastefully. In reality, Liam was not either of those things. In fact, he was training. If he did the same training somewhere else, the target wouldn't last this long. It would have died in his hands within a second, and the training wouldn't be as effective. But thanks to the bear's strong defense and it being an elite field boss, it became a perfect target for him. Liam did not intend to let this opportunity slip by and trained to the best of his abilities, and as for what he trained, it was nothing fancy. He had no knowledge of any advanced sword techniques. If he had, he wouldn't have died such a pathetic death in the first place. Rather, what he had and what he knew were the basics. And in his previous life, because of his very low, which might as well have been non-existent mana affinity, he wasn't able to practice this particular skill. However, in this life, he was one of the blessed few. Though he was not born with a constitution that could make others envy him, he was surely going to get here very soon. And that meant, his mana absorption, mana manipulation, and mana usage would be top-notch at worst. So how could he still not train in this special technique? After all, this was the basis for one of the strongest abilities everyone chased after and the foundation of one of the most powerful classes, the battle mage. Though Liam did not intend on becoming one, he nevertheless wanted to perfect this technique, as swordplay was already drilled into his bones. It would only be a waste if he didn't try and combine it with the other thing that could bring out the full potential of the sword. And that was mana. Just like his spirit sword techniques that relied on his inherent spirit and soul strength, there were also arcane sword techniques. These relied on mana. To be more specific, one had to combine the power of mana with the strength of the sword. And Liam was currently practicing this exact same thing. Since he had personally not used this move before, he was also a novice just like the others, so he was struggling a bit, unable to execute it immediately. At the same time, he already knew the basics and also had seen these kinds of moves being used several times, so his progress wasn't too slow either. With every slash of his sword, he was improving tremendously and gaining a lot more experience in this technique. He even managed to almost achieve success a few times, leaving behind charred marks on the gigantic black-furred beast. However, before he could get any further, the enormous black bear couldn't hold out any longer and charged towards him with everything it had. Its red eyes further darkened in rage and it shouted, letting out an earth-shattering roar. Its speed and agility, not to mention strength, all of a sudden increased by leaps and bounds. Liam instantly pulled back. Every boss monster deteriorated into this enraged state when their health was reduced to the last 5%. So he treated this part of the fight more carefully and focused on evading. He also used some of his other long-range skills, lightning bolt, and fireball. The Bear King was more susceptible to these two elements, and combined with Bharat's attacks, almost the entirety of its thick black lustrous fur was burnt down and its body, riddled with several injuries, gave out. The rest of Barabara's health was also quickly brought down and the huge grizzly fell back with a loud thud. Experience points and notifications chimed in one after the other, but Liam clicked his tongue in annoyance. TCH. It won't respawn. For another 10 hours. So no point in staying here. He had to continue his training with another new target. He kicked the bear's body into position and then brought down his sword to cleanly sever its head in one swift move. All right. This quest is taken care of. Time to head to the city. Liam tossed the bear's head into his inventory. There were a couple of equipment pieces that had also dropped which he casually tossed in as well. Chapter 46, World Famous. Ding. Congratulations. You have killed the Bear King Barabara. You have gained 20,000 experience points. Ding. Congratulations. You are the first player to kill the elite Bear King Barabara and save the city from its terror. Your grand achievement will be etched in history. Liam tossed the two notifications aside with a smirk on his face. It has begun now. The very next second a loud ding chimed and bright letters flashed in front of him and also the several other players currently engrossed in the same world. Ding. World announcement, player Chang Liam has successfully killed the elite Bear King Barabara. This achievement is etched in the walls of fame and his glory will be sung for all eternity. Bharat gasped. He was currently seeing the same thing as everyone else. Being announced on the server within 24 hours of the game starting was something unimaginable for someone like him. And considering that this was the first world announcement, he just dumbly looked at the person and then back at the flashing bright words. So his name was Liam. Every player currently in the game would have received this message. They would all know his name too. This was a good thing, even an envious achievement, but at the same time, fame always came with jealousy and hatred. Even this single announcement was enough to put him under a spotlight, which would inevitably be accompanied by harassment and ganking. Moreover, observing him so far, this person was definitely a solo player without any sort of backing. So Bharat wondered how he was going to handle everything by himself. He searched his face for the slightest trace of fear or concern. However, the other party seemed to be rather preoccupied, only barely paying attention to the world announcement. His observation was indeed spot on as Liam already knew this was going to happen. While this video game's or rather the tutorial mode's initial purpose seemed to be to prepare everybody for the upcoming changes in the real world, it was far from the truth. While giving a helping hand to the inhabitants of the planet, this simultaneously festered chaos and commotion as well. This was why there was no option to hide one's identity or appearance in the game. The more one stood out, the more the game would be disadvantageous to that person. No one player would be allowed to rise to the top. This was going to happen sooner or later and Liam had no plans of delaying anything or changing his plans because of this. Otherwise, he would only miss out on a lot of things and in the end, he wouldn't be able to achieve anything that he wanted. So he might as well get this over with right here and now. Liam sighed and he was already gazing at the next couple of notifications. The night was still young and he knew that the last of the notifications was not over just yet. Ding. Congratulations. You have reached level 15. Ding. Congratulations. You are the first person to be recorded on the world leaderboard. Your grand achievement will be etched in history. And just as he finished clearing this notification, another announcement rang loudly. Ding. World announcement, the world leaderboard is now available. Only the deserving, the truly strong and powerful will be recorded on the world leaderboard. Liam did not even bother opening this so-called world leaderboard option in the game screen and checking. He already knew what it would look like. There were 50 spots in total and currently only his name would be present, occupying the first of the 50 other empty slots, thereby putting another spotlight on him. As if this wasn't enough, killing any of the players on the world leaderboard would fetch special rewards, bonus drops, and generous experience points. Liam flicked all the notifications close as he subconsciously hurried his footsteps. Things were going to get very heated up a lot faster now, but his main goals still remained the same. He lifted his head to calmly gaze at the huge city sprawled in front of him and walked towards it steadily with an unwavering gaze. Bring it on. AHH. UMM. Bharat saw that he was once again being forgotten and ran behind the guy. Boss, wait for me. Why? Do you have more free time? Liam chuckled. Bro. You are famous now. Don't you think it's better to have someone by your side to watch your back? Bharat tried to strike the iron. When it's hot. Het. Yup. You are absolutely correct, but I already have companions. You don't have to worry about that. Boss, come on. Aren't you planning to form a guild in the future? Also dungeons and raids. I am sure this game also has something like that. Don't you want more players? You can call me whenever you need help. I have a couple of friends. We can help you out. Bharat hadn't expected it, but hearing his words, Liam actually paused in his footsteps. Okay. Let's do this. Add me as a friend and I will call you if I need anything. Chapter 47, Grinding Time. Bharat grinned wildly and quickly sent him a request before the person decided to change his mind. Liam as well fished out his request. Among the several others that came his way since the world announcements and accepted it. The two of them then parted ways as Bharat did not even have the necessary entrance fee for the city, which was a whopping 50 silver. Liam looked at his figure walking away and turned to head for the city. He was still undecided about a lot of things, like forming a guild or trying to expand his influence, but it was impossible for him to take care of everything. Even if he had all the knowledge, he still needed some underlings to do some of the menial labor. While trusting another person was always risky, he had some special items already earmarked for this purpose, so accepting a few underlings might not be entirely out of the question. But all of that can wait. First things came first, and he quickly tossed the 50 silvers to the city guard and casually walked in through the huge iron gates. Liam opened his quest menu and verified that the Bear King quest was marked as complete. To get the rewards, he had to meet with the instructor again, but he didn't plan on wasting time by traveling back and forth just for this. The instructor along with several other big shots would visit the city in a couple of days when the black market would be open. This was a bi-weekly event and a treasure trove of Easter eggs. And Liam's next target was exactly this. He planned to use this downtime to do some preparations so that when the time came he would easily be able to crack all the eggs. Liam hummed lightly as he looked around at the familiar tall buildings and the stunning architecture, which was heavily based on a conservative European style. He looked relaxed enough, but his speed was much faster than the city crowd, which was almost entirely NPCs at this point. He swung into narrow alleys, climbed on the walls, and reached his destination in a couple of seconds, taking the shortcuts he knew. And when he turned around the next corner, he was in front of the city's auction house, which was several times bigger than the small town's singular building. Very rare and special items were auctioned inside these walls, but it was not time for that just yet. Liam was still only hoarding all the lower tier and mid-tier materials. He walked over to stand closer to the building, leaning on one of the stone walls. Almost immediately a menu popped up listing all the currently available items. His gaze flickered, quickly looking over the several herbs that were available and also for any recipes. It didn't matter what recipe, as long as it was something that he didn't know, he quickly purchased it. There were also a lot of ores and gemstones, but Liam did not bother giving these a glance. After making another bulk purchase of herbs, he stretched out his hands. His job here was done. Next stop is the supply shop. Liam hummed and visited a shop across the street. "Good day, sir." The merchant immediately brightened up as if he could smell all the gold Liam had on him. "Greetings. I need to purchase some pieces of mining equipment. Make sure to include pickaxes, hammers, shovels, and sturdy gunny bags. I need about 50 sets of this." The merchant's smile widened as his guess had been correct. "Right away, sir. Please let me know if you need anything else." He then scurried away to fulfill the big order. After a few minutes, he returned with all the items which Liam tossed swiftly into his inventory. "That would be 1 gold after the discount, sir." Liam nodded and quickly paid him the amount. He received a small discount because of his title rolling in debt, but it was nothing significant. He purchased a few more stamina refills, including smaller fruits that he could pop into his mouth at convenience, and left the shop. Liam then walked over to the mining association a couple of blocks away to purchase mining rights, which all players were required to do. This also bestowed the basic mining skill. Ding! Congratulations! You have learned the mining trade skill. Swiping the notification away, he then proceeded to directly walk out of the city. There was also a blacksmithing association right next to the mining association that gave out more basic quests and skills for the blacksmithing trade, but he completely ignored it. He continued to walk out of the city and into the surrounding forests. As he was one of the few players in the city, the guard recognized him. Didn't he just enter the city? The 2 guards suspiciously looked at Liam, who was already gone. He would only be returning back to the city in time for the black market. Chapter 48, A Little Too Late. While Liam was completely engrossed in his own world, the 2 world announcements which chimed in one after the other created an uproar throughout the game and all the players within it currently. Somewhere near the royal city, 3 figures dashed around in a huge pit of considerable depth. If one looked closely, these 3 figures were only moving around using the rocks and tree roots protruding from the walls of this pit. They were particularly very careful not to step near the center of the pit, and for good reason. At the depth of the pit laid several chopped up green snake corpses, and at the dead center was an enormous green boa eyeing the humans with its sinister slit-like yellow eyes. Hiss! The boa moved at an incredible speed, aiming for the red-haired girl, but before it could strike her, a huge metallic shield was rammed against its head. "Ha!" Alex grunted, taking the full brunt of the attack. "Ray, what the heck? Why are you so slow?" "AHH. Sorry, sis." Ray stuttered and quickly shot 2 arrows one after the other. However, his aim wasn't all that great as he had hastily made the attacks. The boa managed to recover and struck again, this time first spewing a cloud of deadly poisonous gas. Alex jutted out her shield again. Her movements were visibly slowed down because of the paralyzing effect of the poison. "Damn it, Ray. The damn thing is almost dead. Why are you screwing up now?" "Fuck." Ray was more scared of the woman than the realistic anaconda-sized serpent. He quickly prepared to shoot the next arrow, this time activating the booster effect for extra strength and precision. The arrow zoomed across, slicing through the air. Fortunately for Ray, his aim this time was accurate. However, unfortunately for him, the boa moved at the last second, dodging the attack. With its superb agility, the beast raised its head again to attack the paralyzed tank. "Aw fuck. I am so screwed today." Ray cursed under his breath. The beast they were up against was actually a field boss with an irritating regeneration ability. If they don't finish it within the next couple of seconds, then the fight was basically going to be reset and they would have to fight with it all over again. And of course, he was going to be blamed for it. Alex is going to kill me. Ray shivered. He watched the giant boa as a green light enveloped its body, slowly covering all its injuries and bruises. However, just as the light was spread, another flash of light appeared and the boa's head was cleanly severed. Divine retribution. Mia's voice rang out calmly. Ding. Congratulations. You have killed the giant poisonous boa. You have gained 13,000 experience points. Ding. Congratulations. Your fame spreads far and wide. You are currently at the 15th position on the world leaderboard. Alex smiled contentedly at the fruits of their hard work and collapsed on the ground tiredly. Huff huff. Thanks, Mia. You timed it really well. She paused and threw a threatening glance at Ray before adding, I would have killed someone if I had to restart this stupid fight from the beginning. Ray took a step back and dug around the corpse for loot, pretending as if he hadn't heard her, though his shaky hands showed that he was very nervous. But Alex did not let him be. She threw her shield at him and muttered in annoyance. Why were you so distracted? Ah. Ray was speechless. Did you both not see the world announcements? He looked at both his scary party members. Alex and Mia shook their heads. Unlike you, we actually turned the notifications off during the fight like a sane person would do. Alex scoffed. Ray chose to ignore that remark and shamelessly replied with a smile. He. You will be shocked. Check it fast. My big brother unlocked the leaderboard and killed a field boss. He got side-wide announcements for both. Blay. Useless. That guy won't even talk to you properly and yet you are calling him big brother. You are such an idiot. Alex scolded him while gazing at the two back-to-back announcements. Though there could potentially be other people with the same name, they had no doubt that this was the same person with whom they had partied. If only we had killed this thing sooner, we could have gotten that announcement. Damn it. I can't believe that asshole beat us to it by just a few minutes. Alex gnashed her teeth in anger, mentally imagining pummeling the guy with the hateful smile on his face. Mia, however, remained silent as if it had nothing to do with her. She bent down and took the skill book which had dropped from their field. Boss kill. Ray, here. This skill book is yours. Oh, nice. Tame skill finally. Sweet. He kissed the skill book and gave out a fist pump. Let's go. Let's go. I need a cool pet now. So you decided to become a beast hunter? Alex frowned. Yes. Of course. Liam advised me to stick to the training hall class recommendations and I am going to do it. He proudly declared. Idiot. Alex kicked his shin, making the guy yelp in pain. She then ignored him and started discussing with Mia. Shall we log out? We need to at least get some sleep. Tomorrow is a big day. On hearing her words, Mia's usual calm and composed expression slightly faltered and she nodded. The two of them then logged out, while Ray decided to stay back and explore a bit by himself. Chapter 49, No Matter What It Took. In one of the tall high-rise buildings on the streets of New York, two women walked out of a boardroom into the elevator. One had long, curly blonde hair while the other was a redhead. Mia, are you all right? Alex gently patted her. It hurt to see her best friend in so much pain. Mia lightly nodded with a bitter smile. They are trying to take advantage of me because of my age, aren't they? Alex sighed. Fucking selfish assholes. If Uncle and Aunt were alive. But they are not alive anymore, Alex. Mia cut her short. Alex didn't say anything after that as the two of them walked in silence for a long time. When they reached the gates of the tall building, Mia silently waved her hand for a cab. Mia, just come home with me. I don't want you to stay alone. Alex caught her hand and insisted. No, I need some time and space to think. I will call you tomorrow. Seeing the worried look on her friend's face, she added with a sad smile. Don't worry. I won't do anything rash. Her words didn't comfort Alex even one bit, but she forced a smile and waved her hand as the cab took away. She in fact did not plan to leave her alone. I will wait for a couple of hours and then go visit her with dinner. Alex took out her phone and scrolled through her emails as she flagged for another cab. The past few weeks had unexpectedly changed all of their lives. Mia's parents died in an accident, leaving her as the sole successor for all of their properties and shares. In the beginning, no one noticed anything as they were overcome with grief, but the business partner and Mia's parents' close friend, Walter, backstabbed the young girl while she was at her lowest point. He made the shares crash further, which were already low because of the unexpected accident of the CEO, Mia's father. And now, in the name of a hostile takeover, he was trying to swallow the whole company by joining hands with their competitor. Unless Mia somehow managed to gather a lot of financial support in a small time, it was extremely impossible for her to stop this. But how could a young girl gather that much support? That too, she had barely stepped into her undergraduate college and knew very little about business. Irrespective of her intellectual capabilities, she was still far from managing this storm without any help. Alex knew that Mia was ready to do anything and sell everything that they owned. This company was her father's big dream. He had worked hard to bring himself here, so she didn't want to lose that as well in the same year she lost her father. Alex also didn't want to see that happen, but unlike Mia, she wasn't that rich. She had a healthy trust fund, but the two of them were in different categories. If she gave her everything she owned, it wouldn't even make a dent in the number that she needed. She was also completely helpless. But she didn't want to desert her friend and her sister when she needed help the most. She wanted to do something. Alex sighed and got out of the cab, reaching back to her apartment. Several thoughts swirled in her mind as she walked in absent-mindedly. Alex. Alex. Did you see this? This game is totally blowing up. Do you know how many players have already joined? And it has only been a day since the game launched. This is crazy insane. This is totally going to be the next big thing. Ray shouted in excitement, his eyes still glued to the esports news channel. However, in contrast to his cheerful mood, the person slouching on the couch next to him said and did nothing as she blankly stared at the television. Is this really growing so much? She muttered in a daze. Yes. Do you even know what is the gold to dollar ratio now? Alex shook her head, a few strands of her red hair falling on the side. By the way, our names on the leaderboard are already gone. People are grinding day and night and the Ray continued excitedly chatting about the new developments both in-game and outside the game, but the woman was clearly no longer paying any attention to him. She had zoned out completely with several thoughts running in her mind. Several popular video games had come and gone. They all typically had a high game currency to real-world currency exchange rate, but this inevitably dropped in a few months. So even though this new game was shrouded in mystery and no one knew what exactly was happening, this hype as well probably wouldn't last long. But still, if she was a gambler, she would surely bet on the hype at least lasting for a year. This gave Alex several ideas. If she perhaps could somehow become extremely powerful and strong in a short period of time, then maybe, just maybe she could gather all the resources they need to keep the company afloat and stop the hostile takeover. So while Mia was busy dealing with all the company-related issues, she could potentially help her out by gaining resources in this manner. And by some chance, if the game somehow managed to last longer, then their company could even gain a lot by being an official sponsor of the in-game guild or esports team. The possibilities were truly limitless. All in all, this was a wonderful opportunity. Sure, she could probably work hard on some other route and achieve the same result, but the fastest, high-risk high-reward route was this one. And call it intuition or gut feeling, for some reason, she knew that this was the way to go. Something told her that she needed to follow her instincts and invest more time and effort into this game. Alex closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Now that she had made this decision, her brain already started calculating what she needed to do to achieve her goals. How could she possibly rise head and shoulders above the herd of professional gamers and skilled players? She took a few deep breaths and thought about it from different angles, but no matter how hard she racked her brain, only a single person's image flashed in front of her again and again, and the obvious shortcut stared right at her face. If she could somehow use him. Alex gritted her teeth. She was determined to take things as far as it was needed. She was going to put everything on the line, so how could she hesitate about something like this? After all, it was just a game, right? Just how realistic could it be? Something like that couldn't possibly matter as long as it didn't happen in real life. She bit her lips and turned to look at her brother, who was back to watching the news. Do you still have that jerk on your friend list? Zem on 1 if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content. Chapter 50, Meet me at the inn. Clang clang clang. Loud sounds echoed from within an empty mine in the depths of the forests. A single man was standing amidst several scattered corpses of green-skinned goblins. However, he paid no heed to these corpses. He simply stepped on them and continued hitting the mining pick monotonously on the node of metallic ore in front of him. Seconds passed. Minutes passed. Hours passed. And yet the young man's actions did not change at all. Targeting the 3 different nodes in front of him, he kept mining one after the other without taking a single break. And weirdly, the ores he was mining were nothing special. They were just common iron ores. In between this, 1 or 2 goblins also attacked him every now and then, respawning directly at the spot where he was standing. But it took the young man merely seconds to cleanly finish them, and then he was back to monotonously mining the nodes. Liam cleared the notifications, kicking aside the last 2 goblins. He didn't bother to pick up this loot, which was mainly loincloth and rusty weapons, so the bodies remained longer than usual on the. Just as he once again began mining, another notification popped up. Ding. Incoming call from Ray. Do you wish to answer? Y/N. Liam didn't pause his movements and continued working on the node. Nevertheless, he muttered yes. Hi bro. Congrats on the server announcements. You are awesome. Ray's cheerful voice rang and Liam shook his head helplessly. Thanks. Anything else? All right. I will get to the point. Alex wants to meet with you. Can you tell me your location, please? Huh? Why? Liam was surprised. He was sure that the woman hated his guts, considering the way she had treated him all throughout their dungeon run. So this is weird, but she won't tell me. She says that she will only talk to you. Liam paused for a moment, only the clanging sounds resounding in the silence. Fine. Ask her to call me then. All right. Thanks, brother. Tell me when you are free so we can party again. Bye. A beep sounded and Ray ended the call quickly, as if he was afraid that he would be blocked if he continued disturbing him. A couple of seconds later, Liam checked the friend requests, and among the hundreds that he had received, he saw Alex's name in the most recent request. Accept. He muttered, and the next second the call arrived. Hello. Is this Liam? A hesitant voice came through. Who else would it be? Alex ignored the condescending remark and pressed on. Where are you? I want to meet you in person right now. Not possible. The immediate blunt reply came out. What? Why? Considering the way men usually treated her, she half expected him to fawn over her as soon as he heard her voice and that she wanted to meet him, but this turn of events surprised her. Because I am in the middle of something, Liam indifferently replied. The other side suddenly became silent, and he shrugged and continued his work. A few more seconds of silence ensued and he was about to end the call when Alex quickly asked again. Then when will you be free? I will wait. This is urgent and it will be worth your while. Can we meet? There was a sense of urgency in her voice that piqued Liam's interest. Besides, he was not going to lose much by talking to her for a few seconds. All right. We can meet tomorrow. I will be in Ilka City. We can meet up at the local inn around noon. Okay, thanks. You will not regret this. Alex felt relieved and quickly cut the call, but she only realized what had happened after everything was over. She had thanked him and she had also blurted out that he wouldn't regret it. How humiliating. She was furious. What happened, Alex? Are you all right? What did Liam say? What did you ask him? Ray walked over to her and asked as he was extremely curious. He also didn't know why his sister had suddenly decided to be serious about this game. Nothing. I have something to do. I will be back later. Alex turned around to hide her face and hurriedly threw out some vague words. She then quickly ran out of there, leaving behind the very confused guy. Well, whatever the quest was, we could have done it together. Why is she running away like this? The guy scratched his head in confusion. Because of the leaderboard, there was a sudden hype about leveling faster, so Ray quickly forgot about Alex and focused on what he was doing. Meanwhile, Liam as well continued busily mining. His schedule was fully packed for the next 24 hours and he didn't think about anything else. Ding, your mining skill proficiency has increased to intermediate level. Normally, it was hard to increase mining skill proficiency just by mining common ores like iron, not to mention inefficient. But Liam had already sunk more than 24 hours of game time into this and he wasn't planning on stopping for the next 24 hours as well. After all, unlike others, his main concern was neither bringing his level up on the leaderboard nor amassing any sort of wealth. Those things were only going to become irrelevant in the future, while the thing that he was targeting would still accompany him. Liam grinned in excitement. Tomorrow was extremely crucial and all his future plans heavily relied on it. And if he somehow managed to become successful, then he would have taken the second step forward. Chapter 51, Quest Completion and Next Quest. As time ticked by, the next 24 hours passed just like that in the blink of an eye. Liam did not log out and continued slogging for the entire duration. In about 48 hours, he managed to personally mine 100 stacks of 100 iron ores, making the total count a whopping 10,000 iron ores. However, because of this, he had fallen behind all the top players and more players were pouring into the game just because of the sheer mystery enshrouding it. As Liam paid the guards the entrance fees and walked through the gates of the city, it was completely crowded with numerous level 15 to level 20 players. These were still low as some of the names on the leaderboard had reached as high as level 25. I wonder if guilds are already up and running. Liam hummed and crossed the street, stepping into one of the back alleys. Since there were no quest givers here, there weren't too many players, but there were still many NPCs roaming around. Liam knew that this would eventually change when the news about the black market spreads, but before that he wanted to reap all the rewards. He weaved through the crowd and went inside the bustling street with various vendors. Most of them had just a simple stall, as if they were prepared to leave at any given moment. Exotic meat hawkers, rare herb sellers, black witches selling potions, several unique sights filled this narrow alley. Liam glanced at everything calmly before arriving in front of a specific old man. This person had his wares spread out on a blanket, sprawled on the ground, and yet several big shots stood in front of him. "Ah, young man. Good to see you again." The training hall instructor, who was also standing there, waved at Liam, surprising the few players loitering near them. This was the first time they were seeing an NPC taking the initiative to talk to a player, and that too like they were addressing each other, as if they were close friends. "Greetings, senior." Liam bowed and then took out the item from his inventory. The bear's head was still dripping blood as he handed it over to the startled man. For a moment, the man stood speechless, staring at the corpse of the beast that had ruined his future. He looked at the severed head and then at Liam in disbelief. You killed him?" Liam simply nodded his head, saying nothing. However, his mannerisms were extremely respectful. Thank you so much, young man. I am forever indebted to you." The instructor wiped his tears away and then patted Liam, with his face full of complicated emotions. At the same time, Liam received a string of notifications as well. Ding! Quest: kill the Bear King Barabara and bring its head to the training ground instructor has been completed. Ding! 10,000 experience points have been rewarded. The reward for the unique quest was indeed generous. The experience points for the quest were almost comparable to the experience points he had gained after solo killing the field boss. Leveling was not Liam's top priority, but to reach certain parts of the continent and especially certain kingdoms required a high enough level. So he was quite happily surprised. But what he most looked forward to was the next part. Liam waited patiently, giving the instructor a chance to absorb everything and for his emotions to settle down. After a few seconds of silence, the man sighed and once again began talking. "If only I had had the strength to do this back then, alas, now, it's too late. It's too late for everything." The instructor repeatedly sighed. Liam smiled inwardly as he could tell that this was his cue. "Is there anything I could do to help you, senior? Please tell me what happened." "You can count on this, younger brother." His usual cold, indifferent temperament had disappeared altogether, leaving behind only a look of warm concern on his face. The instructor looked very touched and he patted Liam lovingly, shaking his head. "No, Liam. Please forget about this. I am only telling you to forget about this because I consider you to be my younger brother." Liam gave a bitter smile and continued playing his role. "Brother, don't say that. Even if it costs me my life, I want to help you. Please let me share your burden." The man let out a long sigh and then looked down at the ground, opening his mouth reluctantly. All right. Since you are insisting, I will tell you this, but I suggest that you stay as far away from this as possible. This is extremely dangerous and beyond your capabilities. I know that you are a very capable young man, so you shouldn't ruin your future by listening to this fool's words." Liam attentively nodded, not taking his eyes away from the man. I haven't completely given up yet." The instructor clenched his fists. "Because my foundation was irreparably crushed, I have been staying at the training hall all these years as a mere instructor. But I haven't given up yet." Chapter 52, Hands Covered in Calluses. The instructor looked at Liam resolutely and continued. "At the far south of the Gresh Kingdom, there is a small town, and the lord of the town is a disciple of an ancient medicine master. I have heard rumors that this master knows how to cure one's body and can even save someone crippled like me. But this is all the information that I have managed to collect so far. The journey to the southern part of the kingdom is extremely perilous, as the lands are mostly dense forests and those territories belong to savage beasts and also equally savage men. My only wish is to one day visit this village and find out if what I heard was indeed true." Maybe even someone as useless as me could. Again start over. Liam's eyes immediately twinkled. There it was. And the very next second, the notifications chimed in. Ding, unique chain quest part B activated. Ding, visit the town Jahiria and obtain the cure for crippled meridians. Liam read the quest thoroughly and scratched his chin. This was actually not the quest that he was expecting. The real quest that he was after was regarding an invaluable elixir recipe that would perfect someone's body to 100%, bestowing an ideal constitution that even heavens would envy. However, it looked like Liam was not yet at that point. This was to be expected as he only barely knew the chain quest details. After all, he was a mere slave in his last life, so how could he possibly be privy to the specifics? But just judging from how things were going, he could tell that either the next quest in the chain or the quest after it should give him his desired results. So all he could do now was patiently keep digging at this chain quest. Even if the end result was not what he expected, unique quests were still head and shoulders above the rest of the quests, and there would most definitely be one or the other pot of gold at the end. If it was not the elixir recipe, then perhaps it would be something related to soul cleansing or soul strengthening. Liam knew better than to doubt the usefulness of a unique quest, so he quickly accepted it with a smile. This brother will put his life on the line and obtain the cure for you, senior. He bowed. Sigh. All right. Be careful and always remember to take care of yourself first. My life is already over anyway. The instructor mumbled. And walked away as if he was no longer in the mood for the black market. And seeing his leave, Liam's expression returned back to normal. What a dramatic guy. He chuckled and focused on the next task at hand. He walked back to the stall of the old man and bent down to talk to him. Sir, how much is this? What about this? He randomly started picking out items and asking for their price. The old man initially looked annoyed as no one dared to ask him any of the prices directly. All the wares in his shops were rare items that could not be obtained anywhere. So when Liam started touching things without any concern, he became angry. He was about to swat his hand away when the old man's expression subtly changed. He stared at Liam's hands that were covered in calluses. These were the hands of a hard-working man. He no longer seemed to be annoyed and eyed Liam up and down. The young man in front of him was wearing simple clothes and was drenched in sweat from top to bottom. The distinct smell of raw mineral ores wafted from him. The old man's expression immediately softened and rubbed his long thin beard. Don't dirty my wares, kid. Ah. Sorry, elder. Liam quickly backed away, putting on a humble appearance. Please forgive me. I didn't mean to offend you. Can I give some iron ore as compensation to the elder? I have nothing else with me. Liam was reciting words from his memory as best as he could. In his previous life, these were mere coincidences that players had discovered by accident, but now he was carefully orchestrating each and every single thing. And unlike before at the training hall, this time he wasn't grabbing the fate of a person who had wronged him in the past. This was someone who was completely unrelated to him, but he didn't care. If it meant that he had to step on and steal 100 people's fate, he would still do it. In the end, this was simply a cruel fight for survival, and he had no other choice but to use the single weapon in his arsenal, which was knowledge. Knowledge about the future and the chaos that was about to descend. Chapter 53, Hidden Class Quest. Liam humbly muttered. Hearing his earnest words, the old man's face warmed up further. He truly had a soft spot for underdogs and people with the worst luck, whom even the heavens had given a pawn. Hey, lad. He looked at Liam with his piercing blue eyes. His old age and frailty had suddenly vanished, only the aura of an expert remained. Do you wish to become stronger? Ah. Liam revealed a surprised expression. You look like someone who is not afraid of hard work and getting your hands dirty with the stink of metals. The old man smiled. Do you want to pursue an ancient craft that can bestow a tremendous amount of power and strength upon you? Ding, hidden class quest activated. Ding, quest learn to smith and achieve mastery in the craft of making weapons. Ding, reward the unknown elders' trust and respect. Ding, do you wish to accept the quest? Het. Liam chuckled inwardly. Though the reward looked completely useless, how could it be so simple? It was a hidden class quest after all. What was not mentioned in the description was that this reward would be further augmented based on the speed with which it was completed. The race was about to begin. I accept. Liam quickly bowed and then ran away from the stall with urgency. Ha. What a hard-working young man. The elder laughed and went back to talking to some of the other customers. On the other end, Liam had already slowed down. He knew that he didn't have to rush too much. He still had 72 hours to get this done. And more importantly, he had other things to accomplish as the black market closed in a couple of hours. Liam circled the place and once again arrived at another stall. This one was slightly more crowded than the previous shop with several players haggling with excitement. It was a sort of gambling den. And a hunter's pet shop. Surprisingly, a familiar face was also standing and she gasped as soon as she caught Liam's silhouette. Alex was here trying to see if she could get Ray some good pets when she unexpectedly saw the person heavily weighing on her mind. You told me that you would only be here at noon. Alex hurriedly started blurting out words in a panic. She was still very nervous and apprehensive about the whole thing. What are you talking about? I only said I would meet you at noon. I didn't say anything about being here before that, did I? Liam did not spare her a glance and quickly walked over to the shopkeeper, a middle-aged woman with a big mole on her face. Welcome. She greeted Liam and then her face brightened up seeing Liam's face up close. Welcome, Mr. Handsome. Do you want to make any purchases today? Look at all these eggs. They could have anything inside them. Even mighty dragons and powerful phoenixes. Want to try your luck? Liam looked at all the eggs of various shapes and sizes orderly arranged next to each other. Every single one had different patterns and shapes on the shell which made them look very mysterious. The people who had gathered around were trying to guess what beast might be inside just based on these patterns and the shape and color of the eggs. Liam chuckled. Sure, he had heard some people getting lucky by purchasing eggs in this shop, but mostly it was a scam. And just like several other things, these in-game pets would also become irrelevant, which was why he hadn't even bothered to use the tame skill until now. That didn't mean he wasn't interested in pets as a whole. In fact, he was very much interested. To be more specific, he was interested in two particular rare pets, the likes of which would surely be unavailable here. Thank you, and before Liam could finish his statement, Alex quickly butted in and spoke before him, interrupting their conversation. Hello. Wait a second. I will be buying all the eggs here. Immediately the crowd surrounding them became chaotic as several other people had their eyes on some eggs and they were only hesitating because the price of each egg was 1 gold. However, to someone like Alex, this amount was nothing. So she didn't even think twice before randomly buying all of these on a whim. As soon as she saw Liam here, the wheels in her brain had already begun to spin. He was clearly here to do something and she was sure that it was related to the eggs laid out in front of them. Perhaps one of these eggs had a powerful beast companion. Yes. That was definitely the case. Why else would he be here? Alex's eyes twinkled and she wanted to beat him to the punch. She quickly exchanged the gold before Liam could do any tricks and placed all the eggs carefully in her inventory slots. With her arms crossed in front of her chest, She then turned to look at Liam with confidence and a smug smile. Humph. I bet now you would have time to talk to me, right? Liam, on the other hand, was trying his best to control his laughter. No. I am still busy. What a childish woman. He shook his head, ignoring her furious eyes and heaving chests, and continued talking with the shopkeeper. Congratulations, madam. You have sold all your wares so fast today. Would you perhaps have some spare time to take a look at something for me? Alex, who was still standing beside him, obviously heard this and she froze in shock. What the fuck? This guy wasn't here to buy anything. She felt as if she had been slapped hard and looked at him with a ridiculous expression, her mouth wide open. Chapter 54, I will decline. Liam took out the egg from his inventory space and handed it to the shopkeeper, who had a big smile plastered on her face. Anything for you, handsome. However, her eyes that were still glued to Liam, and looking at him with twinkles, suddenly shifted to the medium-sized egg on her hand. Her look as well turned serious as she began to examine the egg in detail. It was a white-colored egg that was devoid of any specific patterns or marks, and it was pristinely clean, almost giving a feeling that nothing could taint it. This. Where did you get this? Alex, who was rolling her eyes at the woman's blatant fawning over Liam, also became silent and listened in on the conversation intently. She now understood that this was why he had come here and not to buy the eggs that had been on display. Sure, it was embarrassing, but she was not in a position to care about these small things. She quickly put that aside and focused on the thing that was happening right in front of her. Ah! I just found it inside a cave. Liam answered politely with a smile. Handsome. This egg, can you sell it to me? I will give you 50 gold. This was the same amount which Alex had just paid her for her big purchase, and she opened her mouth in surprise. The egg which the hateful guy had was so valuable? She simply couldn't believe it. Why the heck was he stumbling and falling on all the good things? This was ridiculous. Both Alex and the shopkeeper were looking at Liam as if they wanted to swallow him alive, and Liam cleared his throat. Ah, I must apologize. I am not planning to sell this egg. The shopkeeper's expression once again changed, but Liam was not yet done talking. I was wondering if madam could help me inspect this egg. I heard that you are the best when it comes to beast eggs, ah ha 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 ha. So, please take a look at this for me. He flashed another smile which made him look all the more charming, and the woman immediately started blushing. Sure. Sure. I can do that for you, handsome. She once again went back to flirting with him just like that. Liam sighed in relief and he waited patiently. After a couple of seconds, a screen flashed in front of him with a string of details. Ding. Beast name. Ding. Beast type, spirit. Ding. Beast attribute, fire. Ding. Beast quality, rare. Liam gazed at the details and for a second was completely shocked and speechless. Even with all of his knowledge about the game, he still had not expected a spirit-type egg to fall into his hands this early. In his previous life, some players managed to get their hands on this type, and at first, they were not too outstanding as the growth of these pets was slow and they required a lot of resources. But when the trial stage ended, suddenly they all came out on top, as it was revealed that only spirit-type pets and soul-type pets could be carried with one from this tutorial phase to the real apocalyptic world. Anything that was not a part of one's spirit or soul was basically just a mirage, just like these NPCs. This was also why Liam hadn't bothered to use the tame skill. He was sure that there was some sort of madness to the method, just like with mana usage and control, but he didn't want to spread himself too thin by focusing on everything at once. But since he had this egg, and he was already here, he decided to get this inspected, and it turned out to be an unexpected windfall. It looked like everything was nudging him towards something, and this time even fate was on his side. Liam grinned. His plans changed a little, but not too much. Young man, I must remind you. These types of eggs are very difficult to hatch. Even if you hatch them, they might still not amount to much. I would still be honored to take it off your hands. How about I offer you 1,000 gold for the egg? He. I can even give you some information. I recently heard rumors about a legendary beast pet. Ding. New quest available, visit the royal city and meet with the innkeeper. Ding. Quest difficulty, S grade. Ding. Do you accept this quest? Y/N. S grade quest, huh? Ha ha ha. Sorry madam, I think I will decline. Our paths are different. I hope you can find someone else to help you. Liam politely bowed and took the egg back from the woman's hands. Ah! That is such a pity. The shopkeeper looked very disappointed, and quickly ignored him, tending to her other customers. And since Liam had already gotten what he wanted, he didn't linger there any longer and started walking away. Alex looked at his figure disappearing in the crowd, and she hurried behind him so as not to lose sight of him. Hey! Hey! Wait a second. Liam walked out of the black market zone to the blacksmiths association that he had previously ignored. Alex followed him there and watched him as he spoke with a person on the counter and learned the basic smithing skill. So this guy is just learning a bunch of trade skills without leveling? But then why did he hunt that field boss down? I can't understand his plans at all. Alex looked at the time and it was almost noon. So she stepped forward and reminded him. So can we talk now? It's noon. Yup. Follow me. Liam walked to one of the small workspaces located in the courtyard of the building where a lot of players, at least those who were interested in learning blacksmithing, were practicing their skills. Here. Alex gulped as she looked around, but the other party had already started setting up his bench. Part 3 of the series ends here. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like and subscribe so we can be motivated to make even better videos in the future.